So I think we're going to make a start. Welcome everybody to the Republic of Work Lunch and Learn series. Just to remind you, they're held every Tuesday at 1 o'clock, webinars at the moment. Topics for all businesses and plenty to learn from. Look for the upcoming events on the What's On section of the Republic of Work website, republicofwork.com. So that's the housekeeping done. Welcome. My name is Derek Shears. I'm director of Babelfís. We're a creative agency. Been around in Cork in some shape or another for the last 15 or so years, I suppose. We do just about everything to do with brand. Recently, we do quite a lot of content creation, particularly digital. That's kind of where things are at the moment. Especially in the current climate, obviously that's very important. So that's what I'm going to be talking to you about today. So just to set the scene, this is my kitchen. That's where I'm sat at the moment. I'm sure you're all sat somewhere similar. I'm showing you the kitchen because you're going to see it a bit later in the presentation, just because of the nature of what I'm decided to join in with the presentation. They've been quiet all morning, so they're due an outburst. So yeah, if that happens, sorry about that. I'm also just being told my internet connection is unstable. It has been all morning, so hopefully tech will hold out for us as well. I know it's overloaded for everybody at the moment. So digital media. In our culture at the moment, we are consumed by digital media and we consume it all the time. Our culture has become always online rather than just always on. It absorbs a lot of our social, and we're kind of dipping. It really is a phenomenon unlike anything we've seen in the way that we consume it now. But media on screen is not a new thing at all. Ever since we've had screens, people have been using it to try and sell things or promote ideas. And back in the early 1900s, when cinema first came up, you had Pathé News running through TV ads through all the decades up to now, where you have some very highly polished content that comes across onto all of our screens. The big difference to what we now talk about as digital media is that all of this previous content was curated and it was produced by specialist companies, and it was delivered to a captive audience. So whether that be a cinema hall or whether that's going to your TV in your house, you're there even in that stage watching a program that you decide to watch at a certain time. So if you're advertising, you know kind of who you're talking to. Much changed everything. He has a lot to answer for, I suppose, and probably a lot that we should be thankful for too, in equal measure. The creation of Facebook changed the way that social media worked. You had MySpace and Bebo and things before that. They were not really taken off in the same way. It was Facebook that turned everything on its head. What we have now is a situation where we're always plugged into it all the time, and whether that's looking at content or in fact creating it. So the situation that we now have, different to the kind of previous screen media, where you had your captive audience and all of your content was kind of curated, let's say, to more and more sophisticated degrees. You now have a situation where a good proportion of the global population is not only consuming media, but they're putting it out in some form, whether that's posts on Instagram or Facebook, or every business now is being pumped out all the time. The result of that is this: it's visual noise, it's kind of chaos. So much material of so much of a variety of quality that we're bombarded with all the time in the feeds of all the channels that we choose to watch. Most of us consume more than one digital channel, so we're used to looking at things in different forms. And the real issue in that kind of situation is getting your voice to be heard. So when you've got such a backdrop of noise, it's visual noise, mostly visual noise. It's like being in a crowded room, everybody's talking. If you want to make yourself heard from across the room, you've got to shout. So the biggest demand on any digital media creator is how to get noticed in the middle of that content. These things all look in different ways. This is just a couple of selections. There's a whole separate talk in terms of what are the right channels for the right types of communications. That one of my marketer colleagues, I'm sure, will stand up and do either from their kitchen or hopefully soon back in the Republic of Work. So we're not going to get into that. We're here to talk about content. So this is a Pinterest feed, just for something different. So as you can see, you've got fairly high quality visual content. But as you pan through, a couple of guys here are using some moving images. They stand out. You know, so in an area like this where the quality is high, having high quality images isn't enough to make you hop out. This is an Instagram feed, similar sort of thing. The bar is high in terms of the quality of any still image that's being used. But again, it's those moving images that kind of catch the eye as you move through. Depending how people are watching it, there may be sound coming through, probably more on a story than on a feed. But this kind of a situation, again, you know, the moving image, and there's nothing like a giant cocktail to get the attention if you're trying to stop somebody. I just mentioned Instagram stories. That's a different type of content altogether. So in this area, rather than the heavily curated images, what you get here is a lot more fast and frenzied. Not just in the way it's made. These images would be snapped with a phone and put up quick. You've got big, blocky, bold text tools. You've got animated emojis and icons. It's a very different scenario. And people do look at it at this speed. So if you're going to catch someone's eye on an Instagram story, there's no point flooding a screen with a whole pile of small text or anything like that. You're not going to get a message across that way. What you've got to do is hook somebody, get them to tap on the screen, hold the screen and pause if you want them to engage. So in this sort of arena, again, you've got these little icons that move around, but moving image content is really where you're going to catch someone's eye and get them to pause. Still on the Instagram story, another way of doing it is to have a setup where your content is so recognizable that if people are kind of looking out for you, they're going to choose to engage as they flip through. This is a page that we actually set up just before the weekend. It's only running since I think it was Thursday evening last week. It does what it says on the tin, Caring for Cork. This is a forum for people to share ideas and inspiration for how we can come together and how we can get through the situation that we're in at the moment, COVID-19. What we're asking people to do is chip in their ideas, and what we're also doing is kind of sharing stories. But when it comes to the way we promote things on the stories, we're putting a lot of people's content together. So what we do here is we heavily brand it by making these frames that present the content. And it's just a way of keeping it coherent and recognizable. Again, it just makes for a stronger communication. The Instagram grid is another kind of demonstration where you can give impact, allows you to make a bigger story than just a single post. You have to get someone to go to your page for them to see this. So you've got to have done your job in the feed for them to click through and take a close look at you if you're going to make something like this work. But as with a lot of the things that we're talking about here, it's no one item that's going to get your message over. Each one is an element in a bigger plan. And again, planning the way you work your digital media, that's a different talk again. That's marketing land. And as I say, you know, someone else is going to be doing that talk. LinkedIn, similar kind of thing. Slightly different in terms of the level of visual content. It's more business-like. You tend to find a lot of kind of stock-looking imagery, and you'll find kind of clip art being used in the way things are made. Again, it's those moving images that are catching people as they go through. So just as an example of what I suppose, hopefully, good content looks like, this is a small case study of some work that we've done over the last number of months. This is a branding project for UCC Graduate Attributes. Graduate Attributes is a new program that was launched there, and it's about embracing, promoting, and developing the non-academic skills and attributes and values that the students moving through the university can have. So we were challenged with creating a visual identity and then a whole bunch of application material that would deliver these messages, having to work under the UCC brand, so you're not allowed to create, let's say, a logo, but strong visual identity is important. So this is just a kind of moving piece that we use to first kind of launch the name. It does very simply what it says. We created other material. A lot of bespoke illustrations were done for this project, including this map. You can see the university key buildings have been illustrated in quite a stylized way. And this is used to engage the audience. The audience here are your kind of leaving cert students through to graduating undergraduate students. So your age bracket is relatively tight. And it's all about engaging those guys. You'll see something to do with this a little bit further down the line as well that's a bit more engaging. Moving from there, process of making video. We already mentioned that moving images are kind of where it's at in terms of engaging people. What they also do is allow you to tell a story. So if we're making a piece of video, an extensive piece of video for any client, we start with storyboards. And what we'll do is we'll storyboard out the whole thing. We'll be getting the look sorted. We'll also be looking at what the animation is going to be, what the communication is going to be. And that leads us then into making the final animated piece. This is the final animated piece. I'll talk over.
Do I want to inhabit?
How will I inspire and be inspired?
How will I stand out and stand up and be counted?
Where will I begin? How will I belong? And who will I become?
So this is the longest piece of animation we did for the project. It carries the whole story, if you like.
We are developing graduate attributes and values and life-wide and lifelong skills.
All of these characters were bespoke, designed for the project and have been animated separately. The different animated sections in the back then are put together in different software. Soundtrack, or the voice recording, sorry, was actually done in the Republic of Work studio with Jay. And the whole thing then gets pulled together. So there's half a dozen bits of software being used in making something like this, and a team of a good few people, all with individual skills.
As digitally fluent net natives, we will apply our digital skills to ensure as socially responsible people will embrace opportunities to identify, devise, and implement just and sustainable solutions to real-life problems in our communities and at a global level.
As effective global citizens,
Hope this video is running smoothly for you. Again, just getting internet running there, so I'm hoping it's not too choppy for you. If at any point you want to throw anything into the chat, if you've got a question or even a comment, we can pick up with those as we go along a little bit, or leave them to the end. But feel free to throw something in there as we go.
And striving to succeed.
We will display compassion and be empathetic, demonstrating care for ourselves and our fellow human beings. We will be renowned for our resilience, our perseverance, and our capacity for problem solving and personal well-being. Our integrity will shine through, and we will be known for being trustworthy, ethical, and dependable.
And doing, and our commitment to making the future a better place for us all, where we will inspire and be inspired to
begin, belong, become.
So that's a fully animated piece. We've also done live video footage with graphic elements overlaid. We're in the process of working on an immersive 360-degree VR or augmented reality tour of the campus as well. This is an interactive piece that was done. So the map that I mentioned earlier, what they wanted was something that the students could use on their phones. So this is an interactive guide. You get taken through. It's non-linear. You can explore the campus. The idea being to communicate where the different points on the campus are, which kind of and where the campus, and it's just a kind of a navigation aid, I guess, for the students as they come in. So that's kind of professionally created content, if you want to call it that. I guess the main point of what we're talking about today, though, and probably the main interest for everybody in the current climate, is if you need to do it for yourself, if you need to do it on a budget, how can you do that, and how can you get the best effect in what is a very busy digital environment at the moment, especially in the current situation. So the idea here is what I'm going to show you is a couple of demonstrations of a couple of kind of homemade, if you like, pieces of content. Needed a theme, needed a content type, a message, so that we could run that through everything. Just allow you to kind of relate the different pieces to each other. So food, everybody relates to food. So at the moment, so fajitas is what I've chosen as the subject matter for this little demonstration. So, as I said, the range of quality of imagery is quite broad in what you find on social media. A quick Google shows us that some people thought that if you were going to show fajitas, this kind of imagery would be good enough. Doesn't make me very hungry. But particularly with food, now we could be talking about any kind of engineering widget here, a service, it could be any kind of product. The fact that it's food, don't focus on that. It's not about that. It's just about the construction of these pieces. Food particularly does demand high quality images though, particularly just because it's got to be appetizing. We eat with our eyes first. So as this exercise, what I set out to do was show maybe a range of bits of material, starting with a simple image, moving up to moving images and beyond, and using two simple things, my kitchen and my phone. So everything you're about to see, all of the content has been caught on the phone, and everything was produced in my kitchen. So here is me attempting with my phone to take a decent food shot. Now the camera on an iPhone, which is what I have, is very good quality. As you can see, it's, you know, my culinary skills maybe a little bit to be desired, but the quality of the image is not what you might expect from a professional. Certainly, it's decent, but it's not what you call a high quality image. The reason there is I did no special lighting. It's just taken in the light that's in the room. This time next week, Dominic Casey from Marsh Media is going to be talking, and he's going to be telling you how to do a lot better than this in generating your own photography for social media. But again, that's not what we're talking about today. These are only the kind of base pieces. So that's the best I could do with my camera. As we know, cameras on our phones afford us with a lot of tools to very quickly and very readily make better of things. We've a whole lot of built-in effects that we can make use of. Even within the video, simple things like time-lapse. If we're talking about storytelling, which is, as I hinted before, taking it beyond just a still image and telling the story of a product or a service that you're trying to sell, is going to help you engage a lot better with the end user. So something simple like this, which is a built-in tool, if you were doing, let's say, an Instagram story piece, you know, you'd have to break section. Even a time-lapse, cooking up a bit of food takes a bit of time, but over a 10-second burst or 20-second burst, something like this, it's quite engaging as you flick through, and you've a good chance of stopping the viewer as they fly. So as I said, my own photography skills aside, and the lighting environments and everything else, if you're looking to use a quality image, the other way of going about it is to use stock imagery. So this is an image we use Shutterstock, just like every other design company, I guess. But there are plenty of other available sources. This is of a better quality than you might get from some of the free sites. You're subscribing to get these things, but it is undeniably it's a stock image, but it's a professional shot. So the quality of the image is there, but where you fall down is that it's a bit generic. So you know, somebody else might be using that exact image. There's any number similar to it would be out. What you need to do is stand out. This image on its own is not going to do it. Now, obviously, the message you put into your post can go a long way to personalizing stuff as well. But in terms of the actual image itself, whilst it's good quality, it's generic. So onto the tools we're going to use. I'm going to introduce you to a suite of software called Adobe Spark. Now, Adobe are a software company who basically own the creative industry. It's what we all use, not these tools, but the tools that we use day to day, whether it's for graphic design, video creation, interactive design. You know, all of the tools sit into one big suite of software that we use called Creative Suite, which is the professional Adobe solution. Spark is something which they've put out, which caters for, I suppose, directly the end user. The idea is you don't have to be a skilled designer to be able to get something out the other end. Although, and the very important message that goes, these are clearly Canva, and but it's the creativity is what the professional agencies are going to bring to you. Not just that, but their experience, our knowledge of what it is you're trying to say and how to translate it best. Back to what I was saying before about the different media. So these things are by no means a substitute for using a professional agency to produce your work. Well, these are tools to, I guess, enable you to raise the bar of what you can do yourself, but they're not a substitute. So this is what Spark looks like if you log into it on your computer. It's available on the desktop just through a browser, or there are apps on your phone. We'll come to those shortly. So this is what it looks like when you come in. You can get it you can use it free, but if you use it free, you've got limited capabilities. There's a whole bunch of kind of pre-designed templates. So as you can see here, these look quite good when you start to look at them. They've got decent quality stock images in. They've obviously been go here and start trying to promote your business or whatever it is you're trying to promote, excuse me, using just this set of tools, you're gonna fall down when it comes to continuity. So moving into one of them, what you can do is in any one of them, you can go in, you can mess around with the typefaces, you can change the images. Inherently, if you're not creatively trained, the more you do that, the further away from a good composition you're probably going to take it. So editing these things that way too much probably isn't the best idea. But where the tools really come into their own, though, is under a paid subscription. What you can do is you can bring in your own brand elements. You've got a brand profile, so you can bring in your logos, your colors, the typefaces that you generally use, and you can then have a situation where you have themes that are pre-set up, so that material you're making is going to look coherent, it's going to have your branding, and that gives you a big head start to having a coherent set of information. And inherently in the system, there'll be a number of templates that it will bring your branding to. You can also create your own. So we might touch on that a little bit at the end as well. So what we've done here, we've taken the stock image and we've turned it into something which is branded. So this is our branding, because that's what I had to hand. But it's applied to our fantastic fajitas, as they now are. I've got a copywriting. So what we've done is we've brought our brand to it. We're using our brand colors. I've chosen the image that it is kind of sympathetic with the colors as well. Things like that you should also think about, but it's using our typefaces. And, you know, clearly, if anyone was already familiar with our brand, it's clear it's ours. And if you were seeing this repeatedly, you would see kind of continuity and you get recognition, which is a lot of what brand is all about. In terms of making it, this is how it goes. So this is done on the phone app. As I said, the app, you can do it on your phone. So in the spirit of trying to do the whole thing on the phone, I'm starting with my background image. So I go looking for fajitas, because that's what we're up to. And there you can see at the top, I didn't look very far. That's a free image. So using a free image means it's royalty free. Means that the photographer is going to probably get a credit somewhere built into what you're doing. You can get images from other sources as well, use your own. So what we're now doing here is starting to work up a layout. Again, there are a few choices there. We start bringing our brand to it. As you toggle through here, it'll give you a few choices of color setups based on the palette that you've given the system. But in the end, you go in there and you mess about with it yourself. So select this little palette here. What we're now going to think about is what are we going to say? So you've already seen the finished product. You know what it's going to say in here. So we just type in our wording. As you can see, the typeface is a generic typeface. All it's doing is putting in content, but it's translated it into our brand typeface there. So that's got in the raw text. So we're now going to have a look. You can't see it, but there's a shape behind that at the moment, because it's the same color as the background. So I'm going to get rid of that because I don't want a shape. I'm going to make my text white because it gives better contrast. And then just kind of scale it up a little bit so it kind of fits. That's our first element in. So next thing we're going to do is add our logo, which we've already uploaded in the system. So you'll have your choice there of whatever's there. And again, just kind of put it somewhere that you feel it sits about right, centered up. The guides are helping us with layout. Just noticing there to the left, because I was using a template, the logo was actually in there as a watermark already. So I'm just taking that out because you don't want to double that up. Last item I'm going to do is add an icon. So again, got a set of stock stuff here. Search by what it is you want to use, and it gives you a whole selection of different things. So again, it's about choosing something in a style that you think fits, and use your visual judgment as best you can. So I'm going to pick this chunky little fella here, because I think he kind of fits the way we do things. Our brand colors give us an orange, which is a nice color for a pepper, and pop that in, balance it all up. And so the last thing I want to look at then is, okay, I've got my image in, but does it really sit the way I want it to sit? I want the focus to be more on the heater itself, but I still want to hint at some of the ingredients. So I'm going to kind of pan this around, and somewhere about there, I think it's not too bad. So that's giving me a story. So in a still image now, I've got a bit more of a story going on. You can send it straight to social. We'd always recommend that you save it to do the post yourself separately. Gives you more control. So that's a still image, a branded still image. Only giving us the one frame, even though we've got the logo and a bit of text on it though, so it's not really doing the full thing. So the next stage from there, obviously, is a moving image. So this allows us to bring a bit more of the story in. Apologies for my substandard culinary skills. I do still have them on my fingers. So now we've got something there that if you were flicking through, you've got that kind of moving image to catch the eye. It's going to do a bit more than the static image. So here we are back on the phone, back using, this is a separate app, they break the apps up. So what we're doing here is we're making a kind of simple animation. So I'm starting with my ingredient shot. I want it without the text on it first. So I'm just going to throw that in for a second. Then in my second frame, duplicate the same image so you don't get a jump. Put in my first bit of text. Again, chunky fingers on a small keyboard on a phone. I have to apologize for the speed of the typing. So the first part of my story. Again, when you're thinking about words, fresh ingredients is better than just saying ingredients. You want to build as many positive messages into something as you can. So for my next bit, I'm going to bring in a video clip, just give it a bit more life. We don't just want it to be a slideshow still images. This is a slideshow system, basically. And what it will do, the animation of the video kind of comes in animation between the slides. So in here, you can define in the kind of time frame. So that little box, which I slide up and down to, lets me choose which 3 seconds I want to use. Again, next step of my story. And then we basically repeat the process again for the next stage. So again, choosing another bit of the movie that was taken. Much longer movie, so my slice looks a lot smaller. So we'll just pick a bit there where the action is a bit more interesting.
Sorry, wait.
Last bit of text. Yeah. Sorry, Elaine, I think that's you with your mic. And then the last piece. Going to finish up with the still image.
You gonna go with those?
Yeah. Sorry, lads, if you could just check whether you have your microphones on in Zoom, because otherwise everybody's getting everybody talking over each other or background noises. Thanks for that. So yeah, large stages of the story. I've used my own shot again, even though, as I said, it's probably not the best image, but it kind of fits the style of the story that's gone before. And again, just that's come in at 4 seconds, so bring that down to 3 again. Because the kind of layout that I'm allowed to do in this system is a little bit limited, I'm going to go back to that image that we created. And I'm going to use that as my final frame. Okay, I'm just going through. So it, as I said, if you use a stock image, it puts credits on. I'm choosing not to look at those. That's my finished thing. The last thing is to make your music choice. I'm actually multitasking, looking for someone to mute. There we go, that's our finished thing. So for the last thing, social, where you're gonna hopefully make a sale. So the best way to get someone converted, rather than just throwing them into your site, is to use a landing page of some sort that allows you to deliver a final message, maybe tighten up on what it is you're trying to do, and make sure that you get people exactly where in your site you want to go. So what we've got here is a very simple, all of those, sorry now. This, again, very simply, just using a couple of simple tools. This would be a page that you get brought to. I've used here just 2 or 3. There's about half a dozen different kind of stage effects that you can use here. Bit later, there's that credit I mentioned at the end, and then the order now button, which brings you somewhere. I've just pointed straight at our site because you've got to bring it somewhere. So again, in terms of making that, just the last one now. So again, we start with the image, doing that same search. Throw in our bit of text. Again, chunky fingers on a small keyboard, sorry about that. A bit of a strap line. And that'll be the first part of the thing created. So we're done there. We just click off, scroll down, and we're invited then to select, as I call it. So for this one, I'm going to use one of my own pictures again. Use the ingredients, there we go. And then we're going to say something about the ingredients. It's the last time you have to watch me type. So we throw it in. Now, we're not worried about how it looks. If you look down there on the left-hand side of that little control bar where you've got your bold and italics, there's a little paragraph symbol. So what we can do within this bit of software is you have styles. It's like a website. So you have in CSS, you would have defined type styles. So this works in the same way. So after we've got the content in, what we can do is we can have a little flick through the different styles and decide how we want it to look. But again, they're all set as part of our kind of brand template. So that's my heading style, subheading, that's a quote, paragraph where we started. So I think the heading probably works best for that. So those, and then for the last item, we're going to do a split one. So again, we choose an image. We use one of my ones again. And then we're going to throw in some text. You'll be glad to know I have that in the pasteboard. So here we go. We're going to make that a heading. Paragraph stays as paragraph underneath it. And then what we'll also do is we'll make that a little quote at the end. Again, it's just about balancing up your communications. A quote from a potential or past customer is always good. Last thing is the action button. So I want you to order now. And again, I just need to throw a point. I just let me complete that until I've done it. And that's it. Simple as. And then previous. So that's the same piece. So there, in less than 5 minutes, in each case, you've made a video, you've made a landing page. Still image was only a couple of minutes to make. But what you've got is a set of pieces of content which is very clearly branded. It's of a decent quality, and it's something that you should, you should send. Let's go on my controls here. So, as I said kind of earlier on, these are kind of DIY tools, not necessarily what you'd expect if you were going off and paying for something. So just as a comparison, using the same ingredient parts, pardon the pun, you can see we're able to add more, and we can be freer with the layouts. We can make something that's more engaging. Again, just comparing that previous little slideshow video that we did. I'm hoping that's not running too choppy for you. I've got another connection warning. So again, that looks well enough. Hopefully you can see that there's a bit more freedom in doing the creativity. Now again, that was put together very quickly just by our guys in the studio. Big job, it shows you what can be done. So as we set out to say, and hopefully we managed to count for yourselves, the tools are out there. These aren't the only ones, but they're ones that we think are good. It's not a substitute for getting someone to work on creativity for you. The creativity, if you're going to be investing in something for a campaign, the creativity is the one thing you should really invest in. And the going to an agency to get them to kind of look after a theme or come up with a campaign for you that you might then supplement with putting together some of the extended budget, that's a good way to make the most of what you spend. Just as a shameless plug at the end, using some of these tools, we're just about to launch a product which we're calling the Content Clinic. So basically this is something where we're giving you access to the tools that I've just been showing you, but we're adding to that the kind of support and the know-how of a professional agency. So it's a subscription thing, and you get sort of monthly updates. Get up the situation that we're in at the moment with the virus and everything else. There's a sign-up fee, but we're giving this out with 3 months free subscription to anyone who's interested. So if you are interested in that as a potential solution, the lads in public work know how to get in touch with me. Just drop me a line. We'll get you on the contact list for when that comes out, hopefully in the next week. So that's it. I don't know if anybody's got any questions. Probably too many to hear to try and do it just with live mics, but if you want to throw anything into the chat. No, doesn't look like it. So yeah, I guess that's it. Thank you for joining us. I hope we've been able to help you a little bit, maybe, in getting your materials together. To take better pictures, certainly better pictures than I do. Okay, thank you again, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Goodbye.